The City of Phoenix holds community budget hearings throughout April, allowing residents to comment and make suggestions on the city manager's trial budget before final decisions are made. This public discussion is among the reasons the city's budget so closely matches the community's highest priorities each fiscal year.
Thank you for coming. I'm delighted to have you here. This is an evening of pretty much good news. I'm Councilwoman Felda Williams, and this is Councilman Jim Larry. We are sharing this event so that the east and west of I-17.
I don't know what I could add to that, but welcome. Thank you for coming. We start with a video. Is that right, Ed? And it takes about 10 minutes. And then after that, you'll answer questions and we will answer questions. So I appreciate very much. We have the city manager, Ed Zerker, here tonight. We appreciate that. As you look around, we have a lot of people from law enforcement and other city departments. We're very glad to have them here. So thank you for bringing them out. Sure. And we're looking forward to answering the questions after the video.
All right, before we get to the video real quick, we just wanted to let you know this is one of 12 hearings citywide, and so we actually have 3 going on right now. So when you speak, if you have a card, we'll ask you to speak from the podium. It feels a little more formal maybe than it should, but it's because it allows them to get you on camera and to get your voice recorded, and then these are available for other people to watch. So throughout the city, people will be able to see that. So if you'd like to speak, please fill out a card. I see we have one already. And with that, we will roll the video.
Hello everyone, and welcome to one of a dozen hearings on the City Manager's 2015-16 trial budget. Input from our residents is so important and helps shape what will end up being the final budget for the next fiscal year. The final budget is important because it provides the plan for how the city will spend taxpayer money and how services that you depend on could be impacted.
I'm really pleased with this trial budget because it represents a year of really hard work. Leadership by the mayor and council to make some tough decisions, our employees who took concessions and who worked hard to save money, and our partnership with our residents to bring a balanced budget for 2015-16.
Why is a balanced budget important? It's required by state law and city charter. In this budget, there will be no cuts to the city services that you count on every day.
I think it's important with this budget to know that we brought it into balance without cutting any services, and we can actually add some very important things for the community.
Even with state fiscal actions negatively impacting Phoenix costs and revenue, and with the sunset of the emergency sales tax on food on March 31st, the budget is balanced and important additions are being made thanks to the hard work of everyone.
The funding for the city budget comes from different sources. It's not all coming from one place, and it's divided into 3 main areas: the general fund, enterprise funds, and special revenue funds.
Examples of general fund city departments include police, fire, the library, parks and recreation, and streets. Enterprise fund departments include aviation, water services, solid waste services, and the convention center. Special revenue funds account for designated sources of money for a specific purpose, like sales tax dollars for the hiring of police officers and firefighters, and funds for public transit.
So when you look at all of those areas together, that's really the diverse mix of all the things that makes up our city budget.
The mayor and city council took action early on, leading us to a balanced budget. That includes eliminating 162 full-time general fund vacant positions last December. For a second year, additional employee compensation concessions at just under 1%. And over the last several years, the city has eliminated nearly 100 management positions and cut overtime costs by more than 50%. The efficiency efforts by city staff have been remarkable. The city is less than $2 million away from reaching its 2015 savings goal of $100 million over the past 5 years. The mayor and city council have also led reforms of the civilian pension system. In total, we can expect to see a savings of around $830 million over 2 decades, thanks to the actions already taken by the mayor and city council, along with the city pension board and voters. This will have a positive long-term impact on the budget, although there is still more work to be done. In addition, the zero-based budget review process, looking at every program, has led to $1.2 million in savings for 2015-16. Every line item in the budget was scrutinized, which allows the city to find ways to save. Among the savings, $600,000 by closing 2 courtrooms where the number of cases has dropped considerably. $225,000 saved in the finance department by relying more on technology and reducing postage costs for mailing monthly statements. $200,000 in street transportation by analyzing signage and determining which road signs are unnecessary to install, maintain, or produce. These are just a few of many ways that staff has found to improve efficiency. To see the full list of savings, check out the budget summary packet provided at these budget hearings and is also available on phoenix.gov. One of the biggest challenges the city faces this year has to do with what's happening at the state level. In an effort to balance its budget, the state has shifted costs and reduced revenue to cities like Phoenix. That has led to a $6.3 million negative impact on the city, which in turn eliminated a $4.3 million surplus, which would have been used to address important city needs. This created a $2 million deficit. To balance it out, here's what the trial budget suggests. Holding off on replacing some older city vehicles and equipment, along with slowing the growth of the city's contingency fund, which is still at its highest level in city history. Here's a look at the new services proposed in the trial budget. First, let's look at the general fund. The budget adds $14,000 for implementing full-time recreation at the county-provided Goelet Rec Center. It's located at 19th Avenue in Buckeye. That means the existing rec center will be filled with kids year-round. In the area of innovation, the budget adds a business analyst to begin preparations for Phoenix 311, which would provide a centralized information center, as well as identifying technology needed to implement a unified municipal services card. And many residents feel that protecting the public should be the city's top priority. That's why public safety amounts to 71% of the general fund in this trial budget. This budget adds an additional $2 million for 40 hours of police officer training for every officer. Now to dedicated public safety special revenue funds. Due to the fact that these funds will be balanced next year, the budget includes the hiring of 110 police officers in 2015-16, which will increase the size of the police force from where it is today. The council also approved a plan to hire 90 firefighters next fiscal year after hiring approximately 75 this year. Now let's look at dedicated Phoenix Parks and Preserves Initiatives funds. Those funds would provide maintenance for 3 new desert preserve trailheads, creating more opportunities for residents to enjoy our preserved trails. From the Development Services Funds, which is paid for by building permit and inspection fees, is this proposal, making for a better customer experience in planning and development services with improved technology and training and more staff to enhance the electronic plan review section and the front counter service. Now to dedicated transit funds. The light rail is seeing more riders now than ever before. The proposed budget would fund rail operations for the new Northwest Extension to 19th Avenue and Dunlap. Out of dedicated aviation enterprise funds comes an important improvement at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. It's one of the 10 busiest in the nation. The trial budget calls for the addition of a dedicated team at the airport to analyze noise impacts of flight activity, assess any proposed changes by the FAA, and to reach out to the community to solicit feedback and exchange information. Out of the Solid Waste Special Enterprise Funds, the trial budget calls for operating a composting facility which will divert several tons of green waste per week from the landfill. That facility is scheduled to open next year. But the list of community needs continues. Among them, police body cameras, addressing homelessness, restoring library hours, after-school programs, support for arts programs, park maintenance, and street maintenance and street landscaping. Any budget requires trade-offs, and street landscaping is an example of that. It is important to keep our city beautiful and safe by making sure trees and shrubs along the roadways are maintained. Right now, that happens when residents make a report, but that could soon change. The council will soon vote on whether to bid for the service, which means the roadways would be regularly maintained 3 times a year. Although funding is not currently available to increase this service, the Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee is evaluating additional options which would increase the frequency of street landscaping service with added costs estimated to range from $1.5 to $6 million. Additional funding sources would need to be identified.
So the 2015-16 trial budget is really good news. We balanced the budget with no cuts to services. In fact, we've added some things that are important to the community. But we always want to be looking ahead. And so we have a 5-year plan. We forecast ahead. And we see that we have some issues to deal with after this year.
One of the biggest challenges to the general fund, public safety pension costs. Much work has been done on the civilian side, controlled by the city, but the state-controlled system still faces challenges. This trial budget assumes phasing in added public safety pension costs over the next 3 years, allowing city services to be preserved. Also, revenue growth will be affected by actions taken by the state on income and sales taxes. The city is planning ahead on both of these issues and will work hard to address them over the next 12 months. Keep in mind, the budget hasn't been adopted just yet. Your input is important, and the City of Phoenix wants to hear from you on what the upcoming budget should look like. 12 public hearings will take place this month across all council districts, and you are encouraged to attend. You can also send your comments or questions to budget.research@phoenix.gov, or to reach out to us by phone, call 602-262-4800. You can also comment on social media by using #PhoenixBudget. Thank you for being part of a very important process. The City of Phoenix is committed to its mission of improving the quality of life in Phoenix through the efficient delivery of outstanding public services.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for hanging with us on that. We had some people come in later. We hope that you will pick up a budget description. It looks like this. It has more detail. If you'd like to speak, please fill out a card, and we will give you a chance to speak. We ask that you speak from the podium so that it can be recorded. There are minutes taken of this that are given to all council members. As I said, there are 3 budget hearings going on right now, so every council member cannot be at every council meeting. So we take minutes and we have these things online. Also want to echo what the council member said and thank our city staff who are here to be part of this. Thank you for being here. So with that, I think we will go to, we have one card. Are there any others? Okay. Is that it, Amber? All right. Councilwoman Julia.
It's Anna Gaines. If you'd like to come to the podium, please.
This usually has to go lower for me. Is it about right? Yeah, I think so. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening almost. And my name is Anna Gaines. I am a precinct committee person. I'm also a retired educator, the head of high school students, and I'm very involved with issues, political, social, you name them, I'm involved with it. I have been doing some research, and I'm concerned with many things that are happening in the city. One of them right now is today is the budget, and the reasons for that. Uh, this presentation to the committee was researched very carefully, and I'm speaking as a bona fide and legal citizen of Phoenix. I'm here to express my concern regarding this new proposed city budget and its omissions of the expenses involved in the implementation of the city's planned out ID cards, the municipal ID cards. Despite my immersion in this 214-page budget, I was unsuccessful in identifying monies in the funding accounts to pay for the estimated expense in your ID card of 4 to 6 million. Further, my review of the public usage of the ancillary services of libraries, parks, and recreation, and bus trolley ridership, the publicized reason for the city's promotion of this ID card have declined or remained constant since 2013. Since there is no set aside for the expense of this ID card, it's at the intention of the city council to increase city services fees or reinstate the recently expired food tax. I'm almost done. I'm concerned if you're considering reinstating the expired food tax, or is the council anticipation to increase the primary property taxes to meet the extraordinary expense for those cards, the ID cards? As a retired citizen on a fixed income, I am concerned as to why I and others like me must incur the expense of this ID card, which is unnecessary for the average legal citizen of the city of 1.5 million residents. And I say that very clearly because I came here 53 years ago, and I have never had a problem getting an ID. I have a driver's license. By the time that I have to give up my driver's license, I can still go to the state and get an ID card to show who I am. So I don't see why people have to have one ID that's going to cost so much money when we already have the library card and many other ways to identify ourselves. And that's my issue. I have the research right here, and I'm going to leave it for Councilman Waring, and I appreciate it for him to look at it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. So let me explain why you couldn't find it. Because there isn't any plan in the budget for it, other than one thing, which is there is a position being recommended to do the technology for several things. And one of them is something called the Unified City Services card. So let me just explain that. So right now in my wallet, I've got a library card, I've got a parks card, I've got a bus card, and if I could find it, I have to admit to Jim Burke, I've got a Phoenix golf card somewhere. And if I wanted to go to the dump and take a load of material from cleaning up my backyard, I'd have to have a city water bill to show that I'm a city services payer. So the idea was, can we find a way to put all these into one single card that would do it all? Well, that's a technological thing. And then additionally to that, some have talked about whether that could be used as a form of identification. But that's a question that hasn't been answered by the council yet. The subcommittee heard that for the first time last month, and it's going to come back for consideration again, but it's a broader issue of doing one card instead of 3, 4, or 5 cards, And then if it could be used for ID, how would it be used and how would it be paid for? Because as you noted from your research, it is expensive to implement that. And so the question is, how would that be paid for? Somehow the users would have to pay for that, I think, but the council is going to have to discuss that, and that's going to take a lot of dialogue. So it's not in the budget because it's not planned to be done in this form, other than to start the technology discussion of putting three things like this into one. And I don't know if you wanted to speak also.
I had a question too. I was
Council.
planning on asking in a different form, but thank you. So I was on the subcommittee, as you know, asked some very pointed questions about this. I was concerned because a lot of people in the audience seem to think that this would be ID that would take away the need for a driver's license, social security card, passport, or state level ID that's not a driver's license. And I thought Police Commander Renteria shot down that with her answers. So I think people were coming and saying they really wanted this card under premises different than what you just laid out, which would be efficiency. And they referenced cards in other cities like New York City, where it was costing, I think, $8 million approximately to start the card, and $5.6 million a year extra on top of whatever they're paying now to have the card. I assume if we were proceeding on this course, we'd be talking about consolidating cards and ultimately saving citizens money. Library cards, for example, cost 14 cents a piece to print. I think we just ordered $50,000 or something worth. And it was a little controversial because it's expensive. We don't want to just order these things willy-nilly. Can you comment on the cost factor? And then I had another question as well.
So that's one thing we don't know is exactly how the cost savings would happen. It would certainly be more convenient to have 1 than 3, 4, 5 of those. And as the council said, it would ultimately in the long run save money on having all these separate cards, separate systems, separate things going on. It's going to take us a while to consolidate all that computer technology into one platform. But as the councilman said, the issue of the ID has also been brought up of what could it serve as an ID? Well, the state law is pretty clear about what ID works for what purposes. And as he said, Assistant Chief Renteria and the police department have been very clear about how state law says exactly what police officers can use for ID to establish presence, legal presence in the United States. Nothing that gets done here could change that because that's contained in state and federal law. Now, it could be used for an ID at the city dump to take, to drop the load of whatever material you're dropping off at the dump, which today you have to have some sort of ID and your water bill. It might be able to be used for that or something else, I don't know. But the state law supersedes in a lot of areas what the ID might be used for and be eligible for.
May I ask one more question?
Sure.
Could you?
Another concern is that you will be harvesting our identities because you have that information of the citizens of this state and this city. You have that information. And when you harvest that information, it can go to anybody who's not here legally. It has happened in many instances. I know that. As a teacher, I know that many of the identifications that belong to a legal citizen would sometimes be used by someone who wasn't here legally, and that's a big concern.
Sure. I'm not sure what harvesting it means, but I do know the issue of security is really important, and that's one of the reasons why these things are expensive, is because the federal government actually, through something called PCI, payment card standards, lays out some specific standards you need to meet to safeguard information that you collect as a government agency. And so we would have to be very careful and very clear about how and what safeguards we have in place and how they get used. And that's why we have to start with a technology person to help us make sure everything we do in trying to do something simple with this is safe and secure, is not able to be duplicated, that we have systems that keep all that information secure. But at the end of the day, it's also a voluntary program, so it wouldn't be required of anybody to give us information.
Is that going to be worth the millions, the $4 to $6 million that we have to spend on it?
I think that's what the council is going to be debating over the next years, to figure out what is it that they want the card to do, what purposes do they want it to serve, how much does that cost, and how does that get paid for? I mean, you've raised all the questions that the council is just starting to be able to get have staff get answers for. Yeah.
So one thing I would certainly look at doing is getting rid of the need for a water bill to go to the dump. I've had complaints about that from former councilmen, actually, who have gone to the dump, forgot their water bill, because obviously your water bill is not something that you carry around with you as a general rule.
Right.
Or if you do, that's odd. So most people have to remember, I gotta get my water bill because I'm going to the dump today. And so he forgot, I got a call, but I certainly, there's probably other people wasting gas and everything, driving up with truckfuls of stuff. They wanna make a dump and they can't. So to that, and I applaud you if you change that policy, if nothing else. Would there be any data collected from citizens? As you said, this is voluntary, so you would have to submit your name like you do to get a library card. It wouldn't be any different information than we're talking about there, I assume.
I guess the answer is we don't know, and that would be part of what would have to be discussed and why it takes a while for these things to get put together, is because we have to figure those pieces out. What is necessary and important for what purpose, and collect.
And that's again why I was concerned at the subcommittee. You know, the library card doesn't even have your picture or I think your name. I just used mine. I stopped at the library right down the street here before I came and picked up some books for my dad.
It has your signature, yeah.
I'm not even sure mine. I have an old school library card. So maybe the new ones do. I was very jealous when I saw your card. It must be the
Pretty flashy.
perquisite of, yes, being a city manager, they give you a special card or something. There's some special books that you get to check out.
I don't know.
But in any case, so at the hearing, you know, there was some discussion about that. I want to make sure we have many more hearings before you ever proceed down this road, and obviously cost benefit is something that's important to think about as well. When I went to the library, subsequent to the hearing, I go to the libraries a lot, so I went to the library and I had meant to ask Rita Hamilton, who I don't see here. We have a lot of department heads and so forth here, but I don't see Rita. I had asked, and I had not asked it quite in this way. So to get a library card, when I sit down at the information desk, I like to check out the community passes. So that's where you do that at the library I go to at Mesquite. It had a very clear sign saying starting May 1st, 2014, so 11 months ago from today, you need a valid ID. I think it was to check out books or get a library card. Can you just talk about a little bit about what identification you need to get one of these cards now? And if the current library card would be on that card, and the police obviously do not accept the library card as any kind of valid identification, why would this next generation potentially of card get you into the town dump and all that kind of stuff? Why would that be treated differently than the library card is now, which is really treated as nothing more than like a Subway card or a LA Fitness card or something like that?
So you're getting to the limits of my my knowledge here. I would say on this card, I think I got this card when my daughter went into first grade and got hers, and she's 18 now, so it was 10 or 12 years ago. So I don't remember what we had to do to get the card, and I don't know if we have a library department.
We do.
Who do we have? Can you tell us, what does it take to get a library card?
State issued, oh, sorry.
Tell
You're
us who
required
you
to
are
have
first.
Carl Kendall from Phoenix Public
Hello,
Library.
Carl. Thank you for being here.
You need a state-issued picture ID with your address on it, current address.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. So I think it speaks to the point of what people were expecting who spoke at the hearing, I think erroneously, that somehow this card could be used in place of a driver's license or a state ID. It really can't. You need one of those IDs just to get the card, just to check out books at the library. Currently.
Right, and we don't even know yet what this is going to be. We know the concept, which is put all these cards together. There's also some discussion about, can it serve as some sort of identification? But the question has to be, how do you prove who you are to get that identification? That's all the work that has to go forward. And right now, I think the plan is to bring the subcommittee's action to the full city council on April 22nd, so that if desired, the staff can continue to do this sort of work.
Thank you. And just the last point to me would be, you know, as far as this card goes, we are, I think, #1 state in identity theft, not one of those rankings that we can hold up proudly. It may not be the case we're #1 now, but we certainly were and could still be, or certainly probably we're up there. I think throwing out other picture IDs for which you would need some less scrutiny to get, I think would be something we'd have to look at very closely given that. So I think to Anna's points about security and who's getting these cards and what it takes to get them, that's the kind of thing we would have to look at very carefully. We have another, speaking of cards, we have another card. Cathelda, do you mind if I do the honors since I'm here? Regina Nixon, Oh, yeah,
Thank you very much. My name is Regina Nixon, and I am the Executive Director for the Phoenix Conservatory of Music and a member of the Phoenix Arts Commission. Today I'm here to say thank you to our council members for their support for arts and culture, and we would like to let the community know that not only do we really appreciate the many jobs in the industry that arts and culture promote within the Phoenix economy, and putting some amazing for District 1 and 2. Phoenix Conservatory of Music is in District 1. The Music Instrument Museum is in District 2. So not only does it promote tourism, it's over a $300 million industry here in the state of Arizona. Arts and culture, we employ over 50,000 people. But more importantly, the impact to the quality of life that we give the community members here in the Phoenix area. And with education, arts are so important for our kids, that they learn how to express themselves in a positive way, that they learn how to be creative thinkers, and really through arts we can help develop the workforce for tomorrow. So we would like to thank the council for their support of arts and culture, and we know that there's no budget cuts proposed, and so we really want to thank you for that. But we'd also like to just continue to encourage your support and ask for assistance in the future when we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak? Well, personally, I'm glad I'm here because I didn't serve on that subcommittee and I didn't know anything about the cards. Now you know. Now I know. So,
my card does not have my name or signature on it either.
You're very secure.
Well, it's old school.
Okay.
well, thank you for being here and thank you for your comments, and please stay engaged in every cause. We need more citizens like you, and thank you for coming to support the arts. I'm a believer, so, and the rest of you, thank you for being here and for all the work you do, all the staff. We are the great city. We are because of the great staff we have. So thank you for all you do for us every day. And I know you've done more with less, but you've done a lot more with less. And you've kept the city running, and we're very, very proud of you. You want to take your word?
I don't think any more needs to be added. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
You've been watching a community budget hearing held recently in Phoenix. For questions, comments, or ideas, please visit phoenix.gov or call 602-262-4800. You can also send feedback or videos through social media at #PhoenixBudget. This video can also be seen online at phoenix.gov/11 or youtube.com/City of Phoenix AZ.